I spent 17 years being the invisible ghost in the machine, the only reason our $50 million defense contract stayed alive. Then a new VP, who thought streamlining meant erasing my name, took me off the Christmas roster. He didn't know that my name was written into the contract itself. The client flew in for the signing, refused every substitute, and the CEO had to order a formal apology, signed by the man who fired me, just to save the deal. Welcome to Karma Chronicles, your ultimate destination for thrilling revenge stories, where corporate hubris always meets its match. If you believe in contractual continuity, hit that subscribe button and share this story. Barbara, can you check the server logs from that March audit? Grayson's legal asked about a timestamp and Drew can't find it. That was at 9:14 a.m. By 9:22, I had already pulled the logs, cross-verified the document ID, and sent the exact timestamp with a screenshot, a backup PDF, and a list of everyone who accessed the file in the last 12 months. No one said thank you. They rarely did. 17 years in this firm, and I still had to remind interns how to save a PDF correctly. I was the ghost in the machine, the shadow fixer, the person whose name only came up when something monumental broke, or something monumental didn't break, and they didn't know which outcome was worse. But Grayson Defense knew. Grayson was a government-facing client with a spine made of legal clauses and a heartbeat driven by trust. And I was their trust. I was the only reason we still held that $50 million renewal after the major breach years ago. The contracts were structured around me, literally. 8 years ago, after a vendor disaster, Grayson's general counsel rewrote Clause 11.2 to mandate that only I, Barbara K. Fulton, could authorize the strategic account sign-off. I didn't dress loud. I didn't post Slack emojis. I didn't circle back or touch base. I just showed up, did my job better than anyone else, and went home to my cat, my Kindle, and my slightly overwatered fiddle-leaf fig. My victories were not celebrated. They were assumed. Drew Thompson changed all that. He came in like a startup fever dream, buttoned shirt too tight around the arms, talking in acronyms, acting like PowerPoint was a personality. Strategic Accounts VP, imported from some firm in Boston. Within 3 days, he installed a new Slack bot named Pulsey that asked people how they were feeling and rewarded collaborative vibes with emoji badges. I watched him circle our team like a vulture that did CrossFit. He never asked questions, he just assumed authority. On Wednesday, he scheduled a sync with me to align account trajectories. I came prepared with full breakdowns, timelines, and escalation paths. He didn't read any of it. Barbara, he smiled, I want you to really lean out of the weeds, empower the new team. You've earned that altitude, right? You're saying I should remove myself from Grayson? I asked. He chuckled. Not remove, elevate. Let Lindsay and Dylan lead the renewal pitch. New blood shows momentum. I'd seen tornadoes in Ohio with less spin than that sentence. That afternoon, my calendar invites for the Grayson weekly check-in, vendor sync, and audit prep, which I'd maintained for over a decade, had been removed. No notification, just gone. I didn't confront him. I just opened a new folder on my desktop, KM changelog. Every removed invite went in. Every forwarded thread with my name scrubbed went in. Every document rebranded with Dylan Final when I was the one who wrote the damn thing. By Friday, I was a relic. People stopped asking me about policy updates. And then came the Christmas party invite list. I wasn't on the CC list. I clicked on the shared doc. My name wasn't there. Later that day, Drew walked past my desk, balancing 2 peppermint mochas, and said with a grin, "We'll keep it lean this year. Only the core folks. Streamlined roster. Gotta love it." I didn't answer. I added one more item to the changelog. Deck 15 final holiday invite list. Barbara Fulton omitted. Then I opened the HR portal and submitted a PTO request for the week of the Grayson renewal signing. Let's see how the core folks do without me. It was a Thursday morning, 2 weeks before Christmas. In Conference B, Drew stood at the front, sleeves rolled up, grinning that same toothpaste commercial smile. He announced, "You're off the Christmas roster, Barbara. Take some time. Recharge. You've earned a break." My pen paused mid-note. I looked up, met his eyes. "Understood," I said simply, absorbing the blow like a sponge made of steel. Back at my desk, I closed my laptop with the kind of finality you usually reserve for a coffin lid. No one asked why, no one even acknowledged it. The next few days were full of frantic final pushes that didn't include me. I started getting email threads forwarded by mistake, subject lines like Grayson Deck Final 2 PPTX with body text that made it clear nobody had read the contract. They were planning for Lindsay, the CEO's niece, to sign on our end. I spent Sunday evening in my sunroom, watching the first snow, tea in hand, my cat Minerva purring against my leg. I opened a drawer and pulled out a hard copy of the Grayson contract. Page 37, Clause 11.2. I underlined it in red Sharpie. Strategic renewals over $10 must be signed by the original account custodian Barbara K. Fulton. Trust is a signature, not a speech. They would learn that. Soon. The snow was still melting off the front steps when the Grayson defense delegation arrived at 9:00 a.m. sharp. 4 of them, in tailored coats and blunt expressions. They had zero tolerance for bullshit. In the executive boardroom, Drew was bouncing on his heels like a man about to host a TED, talk that nobody asked for. "We're here for the signing," said Joel Mendez, Grayson's lead negotiator. "All that's left is execution." Joel opened the folder and slid the contract across the table. The signature line was pre-printed. Barbara K. Fulton, Strategic Account Custodian. "Where's Barbara?" Joel's eyes lifted, calm but direct. Drew blinked. Barbara's currently on personal leave, but I'll be handling the signing on her behalf. Everything's in order." Joel didn't move the folder. Clause 11.2 states the signer must be the original account custodian. That's Barbara. Lindsay jumped in. "We've made some internal leadership updates. Drew's now heading strategic accounts." Joel cut her off, his voice flat. "I didn't ask about your org chart. I asked where Barbara is. Because unless she's dead or in witness protection, we need her signature." Drew's confidence was already collapsing into collapse sweat. He scrambled. "We can fast-track a remote signature. DocuSign, maybe." "No," Joel said flatly. Clause 11.2b requires in-person signature or a notarized wet copy delivered by the original custodian, and it must be done today. He stood. "We'll be at the Union Hotel across the street. You have until 5 p.m. to produce Barbara Fulton with a pen in her hand." He didn't wait for a response. He left the open contract, the untouched coffee, and the remains of Drew's illusion of control. Back in the boardroom, silence stretched like a bad omen. Drew was staring at the contract like it had personally betrayed him. Legal was summoned. Clause 11.2 is a named signatory clause. It's not ambiguous, Mandy from compliance stated. It has to be Barbara, and Grayson knows it. They wrote the clause. Drew erupted. "This is entrapment." "What you need is Barbara," Mandy replied, with the weariness of someone who's seen 3 reorgs. "Not a workaround, not a loophole, not a notary. You need Barbara Fulton with a pen in this building by 5:00 p.m. By 3:00 p.m., the CEO, Cameron Moss, arrived, perched at the head of the table like a disappointed dad called in to fix a group project gone nuclear. He looked at the contract, then at Drew, then at Lindsay, who was crying into her smudged mascara. "How the hell did no one catch this?" Cameron asked, his voice flat as a canceled check. "You removed her from the project roster. You cut out the one person whose name is on the damn contract." Then, as if on cue, Drew's phone buzzed. Joel from Grayson's lead was asking if the board was prepared to void the renewal and renegotiate through Rinaldi and Stokes, our competitor. "We're going to lose the account," Lindsay whimpered. Cameron exhaled slowly. "Get Barbara. Pay her. Beg her. I don't care if you have to send a limousine, a mariachi band, and a handwritten apology dipped in gold. Fix it." Meanwhile, at 3:13 p.m., I was folding laundry. My phone buzzed. Drew this time. "Barbara, please. We need to talk. Urgent." I was out of line. "Let's fix this together." I marked it unread. He could talk to my PTO policy. At 5:12 p.m., a blocked number rang. I let it ring twice. Then I answered. "Barbara?" Drew's voice sounded like it had aged 10 years in 24 hours. "I'm enjoying the quiet," I said, sipping tea on the porch. "No Slack, no pinging, no meetings full of children trying to rename things they don't understand." He exhaled. "We need you." "I'll consider a return," I said, letting the silence drag long and cold, on terms, triple my hourly. 1 week independent consulting contract. You send a courier with documents and a written apology signed by you, Lindsay, and Cameron. You'll hand-deliver it with the check. "Barbara, this is extortion." "This is how adults fix mistakes," I replied. "You cut me out to prove a point. Now I'm the point." 2 days later, I walked through the glass doors of Kepler Moss, not as an employee, but as a contractor. No badge, no desk, just a manila folder in my hand, and the weight of 17 years lifted off my shoulders. My name was no longer in the org chart, but it didn't matter, because now it was on the invoice. A courier envelope waited for me at legal's front desk. Inside, the apology letter, typed, centered, signed at the bottom in blue ink. "We, the undersigned, formally acknowledge the critical contributions of Barbara K. Fulton and recognize her exclusive authority as defined in Clause 11.2 to execute this renewal. Signed by Cameron Moss, CEO, Drew Thompson, VP, and Lindsay Ross, Director, Brand Strategy." I folded the letter once, cleanly, and slid it into my coat pocket. Drew appeared just as I rounded the corner. "Barbara," he said, breathless. "I wanted to say, I know an apology doesn't cover everything, but I truly didn't realize how—" I walked past him. No pause, no nod. "Apologies are nice, but written ones are billable." Inside the boardroom, Joel Mendez smiled a real one. "Barbara, you look well." "I feel expensive," I replied. He slid the contract across the table. I picked up the pen, signed with one deliberate stroke. "Thank you for maintaining continuity," Joel said. "I don't maintain continuity," I said, standing. "I am the continuity." Vindication doesn't need a standing ovation. It needs a signature and a check that clears. As I passed the receptionist, she asked, "Should I validate your parking?" "No need," I said. "They're paying for the whole damn lot now." I walked down the street like a woman no longer tethered to anyone else's table. They could keep the roster. I owned the contract.